Okay.
Hi, welcome to Conversations with Goddess Renata and friends Tim Doyle and the Golden Ones. How are you doing today, Tim?
Renata, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for the invitation.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. We did a show earlier this month, and that was fun. And then I actually got a chance to watch you and Grandpa Bill. I think he's a hoot. Although I
Well, you
must
know
say,
what?
what?
It makes it easy for me to do a recording with someone. Um, it just makes it easier because the other person will ask questions that everyone may want to know about. And I invite, I don't know if people contact you or not, but I invite questions like that if they contact you to ask questions what they would like us to talk about.
Yeah,
Because
and
I think we can talk about anything.
we could talk about anything. And so we don't have dead space. We had predetermined a little bit, like talking about the light body, which I thought was just a fabulous idea because I had no idea really what that was all about and what that entailed. And so there's probably a lot of people that would love a little bit of background, and we could go with that and then just kind of like pop in. Do you know what I'm saying?
That
Oh,
perfect,
yeah, that's a perfect
perfect.
one. But I wanted to ask, let's get a little update because people don't know about some things that we're sharing behind the scenes. Like you had started taking something to enhance the eye vision. How is that doing for you?
Well, I came to the realization I'm doing many. I have I'm blind in one eye, my right eye, and my left eye is I've been wearing glasses for about, oh my God, 25, 30 years. And recently, my vision's getting blurry. And so went to the eye doctor here in China, and they're very, very good doc. Most of the doctors here in China are lady doctors.
Yeah, got you. Got you. Okay.
Lady doctors, and they're phenomenal. And so they did all the research in the cameras, and they says I have a cataract.
Right.
And what they said is if your vision gets worse, they could do lens replacement. So I'm a little leery about doing. At first, I was a little leery about doing it. So I've been doing a lot of things, researching lens replacement, cataracts, how to dissolve cataracts, where the cataract is, and so forth and so forth. And with your recommendations, I've been doing that pearl powder, which is Chinese medicine. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, no,
That pearl.
I totally knew that. Totally knew that. As well as goji berries, and as well as shilajit and dragon's blood. There's a bunch. Yeah.
and and all these things are good. Blueberries, and there's something called chokeberries. And I ordered some chokeberries from the United States like a month ago. I haven't received it yet, but that's supposed to be very good for the eyes. So I've been doing all these remedies and nothing. So I do an affirmation every day on the things I want in my life. And so one of my affirmations is perfect eyesight.
Yeah.
And so it's coming to my realization that lens replacement, that once you replace the lens in your eyes, it's permanent, and it gives you, depending on how they measure your cornea and your lens,
Right.
um, it gives you perfect eyesight for the rest of your life. So I'm kind of leaning towards that, but I'm going to wait till retrograde Mercury, which is the end of August into September, and we can talk about that one day also. To have this done, and I think that probably this is what I'm going to settle on because my eyes are extremely important in doing my teaching with the children here in China and so forth. So I'm going to surrender to that unless a miracle happens between now and then. But I'm still doing the remedies to attempt to heal the cornea in my eye, the contract. I'm sorry, the cataract in my eye. There's over 20 million people with cataracts, and I figure if I could come up with a cure for myself, I could help a lot of people. So There's where my energy is, Renata, trying to heal this cataract. But if not, I'll surrender. I'll surrender.
Yeah, there has always been a little bit of a battle with a lot of people with mastering the flesh and the body being self-healing and what's allowed, what's not allowed. From my perspective, everything's allowed because I'm in charge of my body. So, once that's in place, and everybody gets to choose based on where they're at. I considered the refractive lens surgery as well, because my journey with the vision shifting was kind of scary because I've had like really good vision like all my life. I'm 67 now. And probably a couple of years ago, maybe somewhere in there, I was driving home and it was, starting to get dark. And so all the lights in the cars coming and going, right? And I had a moment like a panic attack. I had to like tap and calm myself down because all of a sudden I couldn't really see. It was just like a blur.
Mm,
And like, I know where I'm at, so you're okay. But still, it's blurry. I kept focusing, but still, it's kind of blurry. Like the lights were making it really hard to focus to see. So, jump start like many years, couple years later, knowing that those LED lights are like torture on your eyes. They dry them out, the LED lights. So LED lights in your house, LED lights in the light saving energy bulbs. Um, there's lots of things that are assaulting the environment of the eye, and it's been going on for a long time. So, choosing to nourish it is a good thing. But then our technology is so, advanced in that way, and especially where you're in China, that I'm sure that the refractive lens surgery, I know people have had it done, totally satisfied, is a cool thing. But I decided 8 months ago to start taking it's not an endorsement, but the pearl powder, just because it seemed to be like, okay, I'm not really doing that. And in 8 months, my vision is like 99% enhanced. I'll put it that way.
wow.
At a distance, I'm like, I'm not driving at night anyhow, but I could. And I haven't had my prescription changed in my glasses because they were done for distance. There's so much wiggle room for improvement and healing of the body. Wherever I feel you can step in and get a new level of mastery, that's good because no one's judging you about whether you do surgery or whether you do herbs or whether you do natural or whether you get Google eyes in. I mean, no one cares but you. So it's like as long as we're comfortable with our choice for healing, healing will happen. However that whatever that script is. And
Yeah,
that's like carrot dangling in this metaphysical new age woo-wah where you think that, wings got to drop out of the sky for you, and then the red carpet or the seas have to part for you to really pay attention, to your wisdom that's coming in all the time. And that's kind of where you and I are connecting, like, hearing what's happening and then taking action is super important now. And a lot of people are just they're stuck because they're not making a choice. They're not making a choice to move forward. And so, that's where I'm at with all of that, all those choices that are important for us to make. Yeah.
many, many choices. And the thing is that you're 67, I'm 75. I don't know what I've done earlier in my life that might have created this condition in my eye, the cataract. I'm doing what I can do now. I I hate to give my healing over to someone else.
There we go. Thank you for that one because that's why we're having this conversation because a lot of people feel that like, oh, I should be able to not go under the knife and not have surgery. Well, you know what? How do you know that with using all your senses and all of your radar that you have for all these many years, this is not what you chose to see deeper on a different level, which is from the heart, Tim. And it just happens that our planet is a little bit assaulted with, again, environmentally. So there's a lot of toxicity that's coming that we're, having to be able to see through to get clarity. And so having any kind of symptomology with the eyes, metaphorically speaking, I believe is all a wake up call, a reflection for all of us just to see deeper, to pay attention more, to look deeper. And it has nothing to do with the form of the message and how it comes, but everything in life is a metaphor. So with the eyes, it's about being able to, see as well as receive. Yeah, regardless
Renata,
of whatever surgery
Renata,
or intervention you do.
what you say is exactly true, because as my eyesight is getting blurry, I'm asking myself, what is it I'm not looking at? Okay. What is it I'm not looking at? I need to see. And I'm thinking, what am I looking at? What do I need to see more clearly in my thinking that I'm not seeing?
And on what
So, yeah,
level? And on what level of your thinking? And
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally, I read a book by Dr. Lieberman. I didn't really read the whole book. I saw I actually maybe sent you that podcast. And he was an optometrist. I think he still is, but he doesn't practice in the same way. And he'd worn glasses forever. He's an optometrist. He made his that's what he did. And then one day he just realized he didn't want to do that anymore. And it was that spiritual awakening that happened on the inside. And he hasn't it's been like 9 years or so. He hasn't worn glasses, and he shifted his whole practice. And now he talks about illumination from the inside. I ordered the book for $25 just to read a couple of things, and like, that's down on my shelf. But it is just exactly that. We have high command. I mean, what you are sharing with people is how people can be co-creator gods. This is the earth training school, right? So you talk about
Right.
characteristics that we have to attune and align ourselves with. Being compassionate with our ability to see, being compassionate with our ability to be seen as well is up for a lot of us. So looking deeper in terms of, what kind of facades do I have up there? What kind of carrot dangling am I doing with the influence that I have over people? And be no mistake that you do have influence over people, else no one would tune into your show. You'd have no followers, and you wouldn't feel impressed to have this training school. You wouldn't hear the golden ones. Your journey would not have been your journey. So seeing where you're at is a perfect metaphor for a lot of us, because that's what allows us to move forward. The next thing, like the next thing, the next thing.
I
What's the
know.
next thing?
I know. I'm still in the process of constantly evaluating where I am and what's going on.
We're
All
amazing,
right, onto the light body.
Okay, onto the light body. How do you want to start that? Do we want to do the an opening prayer of protection for everybody that's listening? So if people tune in listening to this and they kind of, I don't know, we might have dumped a lot on them. They may be like, oh, they're crazy people.
That's a good idea. We can do. Would you like to do the prayer?
I do. I love your prayer of protection. I do as often as I'm able to share this with people. Um, and I always ad lib, which is great, but the framework, the basic intention, which is so important to tell people, like, you
Exactly.
memorize it.
It's
And then I
it's the
use it in so
intention.
many different situations, like all the time, that committing it to memory, then you can have license to script it and be shorter or longer, but the energy of what it does for you is always there. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So we surround ourselves in a circle of light and an armor of love in which nothing remains and nothing penetrates like divine love. We all call upon the golden ones and the loved ones to remove all energies and entities from our person, space, or place, wherever we're at, be they malicious, deterrent, innocent, a little sneaky, or otherwise, and return them back to the light, return them back to the Father for light and illumination. The Mother, Father, God frees all of these energies and entities and souls, and our I am presence accepts no reversals, collectively or personally, for the treatment of any of these souls and entities in the name of universal Christ, God, consciousness. And so it is.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, when the soul is created, it's created in the image and likeness of God. So that means all souls have God characteristics within them.
Mm-hmm.
So if an elephant has an offspring, the offspring grows into the image and likeness of the parent. So I don't know why individual souls have difficulties to believe that they are God, potential gods. And we say potential gods, they're gods, but they haven't mastered. There's a growing stage in all stages of offsprings, whether it's a baby or a bird or a fish, that they have to go through the growing process. And in the animal kingdoms and plant kingdoms, it's a physical evolvement. In a soul, it's an emotional evolving, where the characteristics in a soul, God characteristics, they're in their immature stages, which means that they're basically show up in the soul as emotions. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in the God characteristics of peace may be in the soul as a emotional characteristics of anger. So in this soul spiritual training school, the soul has to learn to modify their behaviors. Now, there's a universal law of cause and effect. What you do to another will be done unto you. And this is how the universal laws gets the soul to modify their behavior. Because if I'm abusive to you, someone will be abusive to me. And you learn this through life's experiences. So the soul's light body, when it's created, has all these immature God characteristics. And when it comes to earth, the light body comes into the soul's physical body, because that's how it makes changes in the light body. So they're not in each carnation, the light body comes into the soul, but at the end of the carnation, the soul learns to modify some of these emotional characteristics. And at the time of death, whatever the soul has learned or mastered, that evolvement of that God characteristics goes back into the light body. So the light body is becoming mature each time. It's evolving each time through each carnation.
Yeah, I call it collective wisdom. Can I have my hand up here too? Because you said something that was pretty crucial. As we start, as people clear and pay attention, then that idea of, you know, things coming back to you rapidly, cause and effect rapidly. Cause and effect rapidly. So, you know, I remember just kind of giving people example. I remember going shopping at the pound store when I had the used clothing store, and there was this Harley Davidson boot in a pile. It's like a bunch of bins. So if people have done that, they know. If you haven't done that, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But there was this Harley Davidson boot, and I glommed on. I saw that boot. Somebody else saw that boot, and we were like, you know, toe to toe with the boot. Right? It was not good. Got in the car driving, and the guy that we struggled with the boot, he was standing out the driveway, and he was throwing something at me, like wanted to throw something at my window. We missed that. My girlfriend was here from Paris. We were going to visit her at her mother's house. And I stepped outside to do something and got in the car, and my keys were in the car with the dog, and the car locked. The car locked. We had to break the window. I broke my own window in my car. This is rapid cause and effect. Less than 2 hours later, had to break the window to turn the car off to see. And then the next day called the insurance, and we had the window replaced. Rapid cause and effect, less than 2 hours. I bitched with that little thing, and we had little words, and I got the boot. Did I get the boot? See, that's a great story that reiterates when you're paying attention.
Well, let me tell you something on cause and effect. When you know better, the effect comes very quickly.
Totally. That's what I'm saying. Like, boom. Oh, I just need to let that. Yeah, you did. Look at that. That was a demonstration of that whole energy that we're responsible for mastering.
If you're ignorant of your actions, then the effect comes maybe later on in another carnation, or maybe later on in the same carnation. But eventually, that's what explains when something happens to someone and they go, well, why is this happening to me?
Or it keeps
Karma.
happening, or it keeps happening. It knocks you down. It's
Yeah.
like, what have
Yeah.
I done? Like, well, that's a good question for reflection.
Yeah. Forgiveness. So what happens eventually is through many carnations, and the soul learns to discipline these emotional, immature God characteristics and eventually turns them into God feelings. The soul is now his, at the time of death, if he does die, because he's always refining his light body, he doesn't have to die. All right.
That's big.
And
Hey, Tim, that's pretty. You just like, oh, well, did anybody tell you that, you know what? As you refine and your light body is pretty clear, you don't have to die. Then you're going to go on to something else. Just be with that for a minute. That's a big deal, Tim.
all
Say that
right,
one more
so
time, please.
right, so this is what happened to Jesus. All right.
Okay.
They say, oh, Jesus is the only Son of God. Not true. All right. Jesus was the example that what happens when you refine all your immature God characteristics and you turn them into God feelings, your light body is now vibrating at a higher frequency and you can evolve or ascend from this earth spiritual training school.
Mhm.
Now, I just did a teachings that will be out next week that we're in the age of the golden age, and
Okay.
souls that are conscious of their thoughts and are loving and compassionate, they align with the universal law of creation, which is harmony, balance, order, and unity for the good of all and the oneness of creation. And when a soul aligns with being loving and compassionate in every moment, the universal law of creation knows what's in your heart. And so all your dreams and desires will be come into manifestations because the universal law of creation will support the soul. It wants the soul to continue to feel good, get what they desire because we're all co-creator gods, get what the soul desires to make the soul continue to feel good. And so to keep the soul constantly being positive, loving, compassionate, helping others in service for creation.
And
So,
sometimes, Tim, sometimes it just looks like you're silent. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm just hearing like it's important to like say to people, you know, how this really plays out is you might have that thing in your head that says, that's okay. It's what you act upon. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got to embrace that thought and go, oh, you mean I can just drop that thought? Yeah, you could drop that thought. You don't have to, and you don't have to have that thought. You can just let that thought go. Those things that irritate you, that you get pissed off about, that are annoying, all of that, all of that, emotional parasite release. I mean, there's two things that the training school has taught me is emotional parasite release, prayer protection. Those are the two most mutable, usable tools that I don't even have to have a pocketbook to carry them around in. You know,
when
they're
I
just a good tool.
they are. When I was 12 years old, I remember laying in bed, couldn't get to sleep because I thought there was either a boogeyman under my bed or someone hiding in the closet. All right. And in my mind, I heard, change your thoughts. Think of something fun. And I thought about it. I says, okay, I'll think about the amusement park. We had a local amusement park. And I thought about riding the Ferris wheel. So you change your thoughts, you change your reality.
Totally.
So purposely in this earth training schools, they create fears so that the soul does not create the reality, that they don't vibrate at a higher frequency by thinking of wars, inflation, gas prices,
The control and
corrupt government
manipulation.
officials,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
assassinations. They,
Control,
they put
manipulation.
these they put these negative thoughts out there to keep the person from vibrating at a higher frequency. And all they have to do is change their thoughts to something positive, and immediately they vibrate at a higher frequency, and they feel good, feel much better.
And
So
also
that's
important to say, Tim, I got to say, it's important as soon as you get this information, like listening to this right now, check it out. Go to the website, Tim Doyle and the Golden Ones, and there's like some trainings. I'm actually in your yearly membership program, and people have that option of listening to some MP3s and to really educate themselves about how important it is to be a good steward of your energy. That's your job. That's your job. You know, it's your temple, it's your energy, it's your life that you're creating anew or an old, however you choose to do that, even if you are not conscious of it. And so, you know, you can grab this information and you can check it out in small little bits. You know, you can check it out in small little bits, and then you will get confirmation yourself that you feel lighter. And some of those thoughts that you've been harboring about situations that happened a while ago, they'll just let go of you. Yeah, that's part of the technique. But you have to choose that. You have to have some action, like the action figure in your life. I interrupted you, but that felt important to say
no,
because
no, that's okay.
just
Listen,
this little
we're,
bit, just this little bit, knowing you, knowing me, and then being able to connect in with that frequency of energy will assist people. You don't have to study forever, but you do have to be diligent and pay attention now. That's what that is about. Pay attention to the thoughts. Thoughts are things. That's so elevating to know that. It was for me.
well, another thing is part of the universal law of creation, bringing harmony, balance, order, and unity for the good of all and the oneness of creation. When we have negative thoughts about ourselves or anyone else, we separate ourselves from the divine. All right. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all souls. We're all here in a training school. We're all should be working together for everyone. We want everyone to feel good about themselves. No one really wants to see anyone, hurt themselves or anything like that. So
Unity,
we have
not
to keep that
punity.
in mind. Hmm?
Unity, I just heard unity, not punity.
Yeah, really. And it's just, get rid of those negative thoughts about anyone else. We shouldn't have any negative thoughts. I had a situation many years ago. I was in the work environment, and there's one kid from West Virginia, really nice, clean cut kid. And I was sort of like a manager, and he was under me. And I didn't like him. I did not like him. And I asked my teachers, I say, why is it I don't like this person?
Yeah, yeah,
And they said, well, what is it about it you don't like? Now they're talking to me.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I said, well, I don't like the way he, I don't know, sits at his desk. It was something silly. And they said, well, how do you sit at your desk? And do you sit the same way? And I said, yeah, I do.
yeah.
And they said, is it okay for you to sit like that? I says, yeah. Then it should be okay for him to sit like that too, right? And I go, yes. So I gave myself permission to say what he was doing was okay. Renata, once I did that, instantaneously, I liked the person. I never had any more ill feelings
Yep,
because he was pointing out to me
yep.
something about myself, and I didn't like what he was reflecting to me.
Yeah,
And
and
it
so
was
this
it was
this
go
is great.
ahead.
This is great, Tim. This is great because again, someone's going to tune in and hear that and like, oh, you mean it's about me? Yes, in that respect, a lot of the reflection is about you. Your reflections are generally your projections, and you don't have to keep owning them. And so, these tools are a way for you to intercept. And when I work with people, I help them intercept that, and you become in control of your thoughts. It's not about making nice, though. I don't want people to feel like it's about making nice and saying yes all the time. Sometimes the no boundary is the hardest thing for people to say. It took me, like many lifetimes to learn that, oh, to honor your value, no is a really good word for you, or else you will be over Miss Empathic woman helping everybody, doing things before they even ask you. There's always a process and a flow to things. And so the idea of creating my own bubble is to allow my flow to come to me, and then I get to open the door. But so for the longest time, that pretty much eluded me. I thought it was something outside of me that was supposed to happen. All of a sudden, I would, oh, but it really was an awakening of what was already inside of me, that allows me to plug into the new energy. We say fifth dimensional. We can say a lot of things about that. Um, but you mentioned about that dialogue in your head. You're talking with your teachers. Again, I thought it was something that would happen when the sky fell down and there'd be wings. I've seen my wings before, by the way. But it is just like you talking with you. I mean, it's like a discussion you're having with yourself. You're not crazy. There's many parts of you, many attributes, and you've got to connect with all of them, and they're all inside of you. You embrace all of them. There you go.
Amen. You know, I used to take walks at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning before I went to work. And I'd walk 3 miles, and in the, middle of the night, it would take me about half an hour, 45 minutes. And I would have conversations with my teachers. And I was having difficulty understanding my son at the time. And I asked them, I said, what's wrong with my son? He's not acting right. And the word comes back, drugs.
Oh,
I
wow,
go, what? And drugs. And I says, no way. I says, no way is my son taking drugs. So I got home. My son worked in a restaurant as a waiter, and he would get off at the restaurant would close at midnight. He would clean up. He might go over to a friend's house for a while and then come home. So I come back from my walk, and I'm up in the bathroom, and he comes in. It's about 3:15, and I called him up into the bathroom, and I says, I won't mention his name. I says, hey, come on up in the bathroom. I wanna talk to you. Or actually, I wanted to see his eyes. All right.
Okay, okay,
I wanted to see if his eyes were dilated. And
okay.
as soon as he walked in the bathroom, I looked in his eyes, and his eyes were dilated so much.
Oh, what was he
And I
taking?
said,
Speed? He was taking speed, huh?
well, no. I think he was smoking marijuana.
Oh,
Okay.
marijuana's not a drug. Whatever.
Yeah, it is. It affects you. Listen, I took, when my kids were younger, I took marijuana once, and I with my boys in the house, and I thought my bedroom window was going to turn into a door and someone was going to walk in.
I
Yeah,
just think
it's a
you have that. I think you just have that trip ability going on with you. You did the ayahuasca trip, and you heard all kinds of stuff. I mean,
no. This was before I did the ayahuasca. This
okay.
was back. This was back in the, oh my God,
Were you in the Navy? You were in the Navy?
1985.
You're in the military,
Huh?
weren't you? Were you in the
Yeah,
military?
yeah.
Yeah, so I
Marine
mean that's pretty anti, even in the military where you would say, you know, so the endocannabinoid system is pretty powerful. All of our bodies have that particular system. It's too bad that it's taken so long for medicine to
Yeah.
recognize that, you know.
So I had a talk with my son about I says, I said, are you taking drugs? And sheepishly he says, yeah. I says, it's not good for you. I says, you need to stop it. And if you're hanging around kids doing this, I says, you need to take responsibility for what you're doing. Now he was 17 at the time, or
Well, he was a
18.
little young. He was a little young, but I
Well,
smoked pot when I was younger. I came introduced to it when I was in a junior high school, in a wealthy area. I didn't know anything about, we weren't poor, but I didn't hang around kids that could buy a pound of, marijuana. I didn't know what that was. So that's where I learned about all that.
I had 4 boys. I have 4 boys, and believe me, they knew where to get it.
Oh yeah, and now that now that 420's happened and it's legal and it's a whole different ball game. But there was a lot of stuff that was put into, growing marijuana back then that may not have been cool. So yeah.
Same thing with cigarettes.
Oh
being
yeah.
addictive and so forth. Same thing.
I know.
Um,
I've gone through all of them. I don't do and I don't smoke cigarettes, and that was an interesting sort of like when it was time to quit that. But I never beat
yeah,
myself up for it either though. That is kind of the wisdom that I came in with. I'm like, I would catch people going, they'd be smoking, I shouldn't do that. I'm like, and I would like, so what is it about the inner conflict that you do not understand? Like, if you're going to smoke, then just smoke, but do not smoke and then beat yourself up for it. That is like heavy whammy. No, I got that totally. And so when I was ready to let go of that, I pretty much just said, okay, so the next time I get some little lungy thing or something, I'm good. Let's just let this go. And boom,
yeah.
like a month later, we went to Dallas, and I came back off the plane. Like, I was like, this is a good time. Thank you. I haven't smoked a cigarette since. But I had to, I had to want to. It's like no one says you have to stop that. Again, there's no white man in heaven going, you're gonna die from diabetes, you're gonna die from this. Is not, it's just an accumulated amount of wisdom, and a lot of fear that's put on people.
Right.
A lot of things are situational. High up in the Andes, people snort cocoa leaves because the climate is really, really super thin. It serves a purpose for working. It's in the context of where they're at. I'm just saying, there's lots of examples of that. So
And there's
you got to be
and there's
discerning.
yeah, well, there's a lot of advertisement that encourage smoking, or you see people smoking and so forth. I
Yeah.
smoked probably for a couple of years, and then when I was waking up, coughing in the morning, I said, "That's it. I need to stop." Once it
I,
affected my health, it said, "No, I got to stop."
You know what,
And
though, Tim? That's an obvious one, but think about how it is when people ruminate the anger and the frustration, and really it is just them ruminating over, that's what we're encouraging people. Use these tools to get rid of the angst and anger and the repression, because you don't ever repress anything. You just turn it back in on yourself, and you wonder why your health suffers. You
yeah,
wonder why you're not
exactly.
sleeping. You wonder why your relationships aren't working either. Everything is a reflection. So when you stop and breathe and take accountability and responsibility, which is a magic wand, I say, when you understand that, then you're able to turn it around and be in it, but not of it. And it's a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different level of consciousness. It's a whole different frequency. You're still here, like you and I, but there's a different level of understanding that ascends you. You're still here on this planet, though, fully embodied. That's what I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
I know.
I was checking the time. How are we
Me too.
doing?
7:35.
All right.
7:35. We're doing good. So light body, I mean, it's a big deal. It's not like, oh, you come in and then there's your light body, you take it to the dry cleaners and you get in your car and go home. No. No, no, no. This is this evolution, this perspective, this sense of being responsible. It's like it's what you stepped into. So enjoy it. I mean, that's my perspective on these things now.
Well, what I'm hearing, one more point to make about the light body
Sure. Yes.
is we carry over from carnation to carnation into our light body, and even the abusiveness that we do to another in a previous life is brought over by the light body into the new physical body. That's why some souls are born with birth defects,
Mm,
or later
okay.
on in life they have deterioration in their physical body, because what happens is when you abuse someone else, ah, we're getting into something else, is that it's recorded in the physical body. There's at the cellular level of the
Yep.
physical body
Yep.
holds our abusiveness from a previous carnations. And to get rid of that, Renata, and this is what they've been teaching me for the past year, is forgiveness.
Yep.
Is
Self-forgiveness.
when we
Yeah.
forgive. But the thing is, you don't have to remember who you abused. All you have to do is start forgiving people. So what I do, and I find this what happens, how they taught me about this. I used to get up every morning, early, when I used to do my yoga, and before I do my yoga, I would stand in front of the altar behind me, and I would do either a prayer for trapped souls or to remove the negative energies in my home and so forth. And when I got to the point of asking for release of this energy for the soul, removing all energies and entities, unlike divine love, I found myself taking a sigh.
Yeah.
And this would happen only when I got to this point in my prayers. When I was asking to have this energy released, when I was asking for the energy to be released for someone else, it was being released from me. And
Yeah.
so when this kept happening, I'm saying this is too clear, this is too coincidental. And I'd ask my teachers, what am I doing? And they told me, you're releasing negative cellular energy from abusiveness from previous carnations. And you have to do this. And when you do this, you start vibrating at a higher frequency.
Yep.
So it's like I don't know who I abuse, but when I go to the supermarket, I'll ask for healing for everybody in the supermarket.
Yeah, and
I
and then
see,
and it's
I,
out there. Yeah, it's like if you go to the bathroom and you just get the toilet paper and you wipe and you're good. See, it's like it's great.
I, I, I surround everybody in the supermarket in a circle of light in an armor of love. And I ask that the universe removes all energies and entities, unlike divine love itself. And I'll get this sigh. And then I feel like, okay, I don't know what happened, but we sent healing out to everyone in the supermarket. Or if I'm on the bus, I do the same thing. If
So,
but it doesn't
yeah.
doesn't happen all the time. It happens when my teachers say, "How about the healing prayer?" And I go, "Oh, you know what? Good time to do it." So they remind me there must be somebody in the supermarket I must have abused many years, many carnations ago that needed a healing or forgiveness. It's a forgiveness. We do a
Yeah.
forgiveness for others.
Yeah, no,
So
that's really powerful. And again, knowing that we are the ripple in the pond. That is what's going on. That's why it's so important for people to get together and have little gatherings. You were saying our last discussion how you missed having people in your home and doing your meditation classes and your other classes. It's a little different now for a lot of reasons. But that intimate connection, which is that energy to energy, body to body in the same space, so to speak, and looking at the whites of people's eyes or the red of people's eyes in your son's case. Nonetheless, there's a tremendous amount of heart exchange that needs to express itself, and that's part of the misgivings of what it means when you're a spiritual person. And like, and they use Jesus and God as a reflection. Like, no one feels like they're up to anything like that. Like, God, fuck, he walked on water. What are we talking about? I mean, the story seems so insurmountable and so like not redoable that the tools that you're sharing and the golden ones have shared with you and things that I hear to share with clients is that you're good. You would not be here if you were not part of the solution. But you got to come down and ground the wisdom from your accumulated incarnations and let your light shine. What does that mean? It's like, well, you decide to go into a place and you feel like you need to surround everybody in light, then you do that. You don't you don't doubt yourself because doubt cancels everything out. That's the wisdom of having teachers and listening. Doubt cancels everything out. And we've been taught through entrainment, our schooling system, to down our intelligence, which when you don't have your intuition, then that's where you're ignorant. When you don't use your intuition, that's ignorance. It's not like a lack of book knowledge. That, you can just have book knowledge forever, on end and on end. Then you burn the books. Then what do you do? Like they did in Alexandria. Then what do? You count on the heart love that's rising up inside of you and your ability to think like a compassionate, loving human being, fully embodied spirit now. That's the deal. And 24/7, 365 is an opportunity to enact that every day of your life. That's how I believe.
women are more intuitive. Women use their right brain, which is, well, they don't do it consciously. And that's why we change genders, incarnations, going from
Yes,
male to
yes.
female, female to male.
That's the
Women
interesting.
are intuitive because they use the right side of their brain, which is nurturing, intuitiveness, caring, compassion, and so forth. where men use the left side of the brain, which is more logical, systematic, organized, and so forth. In the olden days, women who are more feeling and are connected to the heart of God were in charge of the planet.
Yeah,
They would, yeah, they would
I
govern the
believe that.
land.
Yeah.
and and the men, it was their role to develop the female's ideas. So if a leader, a woman or a female in charge of a country would say, we have to come up with a system to feed the poor. And she turned to the man, she says, develop it. And he would go out and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll get the farmers to grow it and put it in storage and so forth.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was her role. Her role was she would nurture, she would rule for the good of the people, for the compassion, always peace. There was always peace on the planet and so forth. We didn't come to disruption on the planet until 10,000 years ago when the Earth migrated. the Our solar system's in the Milky Way galaxy, and the Milky
Yes.
Way galaxy is
Yes.
always going through space, traveling through space,
Yes.
but it goes through different dimensions. So when the women were in charge, it was in the fifth dimension vibratory frequency on the planet where we are now, and everyone was vibrating out of love and compassion. Well, then the Milky Way pass through another third dimension vibratory frequency, which is a low vibration, a frequency of selfishness. And that's where the Earth has been for the past 10,000 years until 21 December 2012, when it moved back into a fifth dimension reality. And that's why we're in the age of the golden age right now. So all the souls on Earth now must vibrate at a higher frequency of compassion and love, or else transition and come back under new parental guidance. So we can see where the systems around the world are breaking down.
Yeah, big
Corruption's
time.
being
Big
exposed
time. Big
all
time.
over the place. And as we move forward, corruption will continue to be exposed. And people who are really in compassion and love for their fellow man will rise to power, and peace on earth will return.
And
True.
it's happening now, Tim. That's part of
It
the
is.
that's part of the upheaval, and that's why it's so important to be able to feel what's going on. When situations come to you, I say, if you don't like what you're seeing, then it's your job to transmute that. What do I mean? It's like, imagine something different. There's the thought that goes with that. So you can put that out into the collective consciousness and up level all of that. Do I need to see the results of that? No, you can see collectively the results of it when you turn on, YouTube channels or you watch a podcast. And what are people talking about? Evolution and consciousness. What's being seeded onto your YouTube channel once you kind of wake up and tune into that? Things on evolution and consciousness. And the teachers and the mentors, the regular people you can touch and call them on the phone and ask them things to make connections. That's why I'm out there, to help people connect with their own higher wisdom. Like, you can't keep ignoring yourself and expect to have any kind of happiness. There's too much misery out there. You got to help displace that first with unifying inside of yourself and be the love. Be the love. What does that mean? Sometimes you say no.
Take responsibility for who you are.
Absolutely. And that's a big one. That's a huge one. And everybody's at a different level. Not like it's a hierarchy, but there's the allowing component that needs to open up the heart. Like, so if I don't know what it is, how can I allow it in? Well, that's where your discernment is. Check out what's in your surroundings. Cause and effect is playing here. Pay attention. How does that feel to you? Is it like a go, or do you need to be silent and just sit back? Do you need to pass on that particular business deal or that relationship or that thing going on? Your intuition will never lead you wrong. Once I plugged into it, I trust that. I trust that before somebody else says, there you go.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and so that's kind of that's the task at hand, Tim, is like to get people to like it's okay, like you said earlier. I hate turning over my healing to somebody else, but the somebody else, it's like there's nobody else out there but you. So that's just you, like that guy in your office, I gotta say, where you're like, oh, I just don't like him. And then you realize, oh, he's got the right to be just like me, but I don't have to invite him to dinner. It's it's just energetically I have to let him be just as I let, myself be.
Myself.
That's a big lesson for all of us. And it comes in different levels and it seeps in there like you think you've kind of done everything you need to do. And then I catch myself being repetitive with something like, ooh, what if you just let that go? Just drop it. I know it's tempting to go there mentally, but just drop it. And all of a sudden I feel like light, like, oh, that's what it means to let it go. Like leave things the way they are. I'm not overly, what would you call it? Like, oh, feeling like I have to save the world. Do you know what I mean? That's not that. But it's like, when I'm balanced and grounded, I am powerfully more impactful and influential in just walking around on the planet, talking to people and smiling at them. Who would have known that was where the power was at? That's why I call myself goddess. I love that. Thank you.
Well, so I got a comment on our video. They said,
She
why
call
do you
herself
call her
goddess.
goddess? I says, all females are goddesses. Renata just embraces who she is.
Absolutely. And that's been my biggest thing. It's like, well, Renata, if you want to have, a platform to speak and to share, then develop a platform to speak and share. No one's going to invite you if you don't invite yourself in. Oh, really? Like, yes, that's what it means to own your authority. Just like Cartman on that show. Okay. Like, it's okay to be the queen and king of your castle. Just don't try to make
Exactly.
it be something else. You know what I mean? That's kind of the challenge with a lot of people. They do that make nice stuff. Like, oh, you're just flapping your lips right now because you are not aligned with anything you think you want to be aligned with. Your mind is giving people daggers and your heart is stabbing yourself too, but you're sitting here talking to me about how, oh, it was an accident and I sinned in love. Like, you know what? Who do you think you're talking to? Are you done? I mean, that's how I talk to people. Are you done? I'm here to reflect back to you. You are brilliant. You just don't own it. And that in itself is pretty brilliant. That's amazing that you could just disregard all the wisdom that comes down and through you, and you've made it this far in life. Anyhow,
Anyhow,
I'm somewhat dismissive of people from time to time, and maybe that's my arrogance.
um, I understand.
I think you
Um,
do.
I don't. I'm isolated where I don't get those people in my life. Thank God.
Yeah.
Um, how, how about this be a good spot to terminate this?
Yeah, to like to just say goodbye. Any
Yes.
last any last words you want to share with people for
Um,
them to remember? Like to implant in their heart and head in terms of an action.
yes. Yes. One last thought is we talked about 10,000 years ago when women were, men listened to women because women are intuitive and in touch with the heart of God. Then what happened is when it vibrated to a lower frequency, men using their logic mind thought they knew better than women. Okay. And
Yeah.
so that's where we've been now is that men have degraded or do not respect the women energy as much as they need to be. In a spiritual sense,
Mhm.
men need to serve the female.
They need to serve the female. You actually did a tantra teaching, which is kind of cool. I didn't get a chance to watch that, but
Exactly in the Tantra, that the men need to listen to the female and take care of the female. And when he does that and he provides, listens, respects, security, protection, she will take care of him. But he
absolutely.
needs to give her what she requires to be the goddess she is so she can feel, and he needs to honor her. So, with that,
I have, I
Namaste.
have, I have one last one too.
Okay.
Ask yourself, how good can it get? How good can it get? That's the imagining part of creating this new world. It's like, okay, you think things are planted in stone and it's just the way it's going to be. If you are the imaginer of this new world, creating it each day with each thought and action, how good can it get? That's like a hopeful anticipation. How good can this really get? I'm asking the universe, how good can this really get? I'm open. Let me see it. I want to have a really successful podcast or a successful show, vlogcast, whichever, however it is. I'm doing the action figures to make that a reality in my life. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how good this can really get. How good can it feel? How good can it be? Okay, bring it on. That's what I say. How good can it get?
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Unlimited. All right, Mr. Tam. We'll talk
I,
again.
I got us, Renata.
I love that. I so appreciate you giving me that. I'm turning on my little ocean beach music now. And
Okay.
we'll wave away. And we'll see you next month. All right.
Give me a heads up.
I'll give you a heads up. All right, my friend.
All right, hon.
Peter saying
Bye bye. Namaste.
namaste.